It is a cold November day, and we are getting ready to move our boat. A better slip opened up closer to the river and with a much better view, so we're going to take advantage of it and move the boat. Lynn is currently securing some lines,
making sure they're all hooked up.
and I thought we'd go through our normal procedures for startup and moving the boat. Now, normally what happens is the first thing we do is we kind of batten down the hatches. Lynn will walk around and secure anything that could possibly fall while we're underway. We're only moving about 200 yards, so that's not as necessary as it normally would be. So what Lynn is doing right now is attaching some lines to our starboard side, because that is where we're going to tie up at the new slip. And I am going to go down and start getting the engine ready to start. One of the first things that we do before we leave is I always check to make sure that the Raycor filter on the port engine is filled up. We have some sort of a small leak or drain issue with it, in that if the boat sits for any length of time, some of the fuel will drain out of it, maybe a cup or so, and it ends up giving us an air pocket, which causes the engine to stall. Doesn't always happen, but just as a matter of precaution, I like to check it every time I go. Now, as you can see, the Raycor is just a little bit low, maybe about a ½ inch, and we haven't driven the boat in several weeks, so it's not really too bad. We haven't quite figured it out yet. I think I may have a little bit of a dimple on the cover that's causing an imperfection in the O-ring, but that's just one of those things I'll solve eventually. So, but for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed some fuel into it. And in the starboard room, we have a primer, which helps a lot. So I'm going to pull the primer out for a few seconds, and that should fill a little bit more. And now we're up closer to where we should be. Okay, I'm getting a little bit of drip come out, so I'm going to assume that that's good. Okay. The next step is for me to turn on my 32-volt system so that I have controls, and to turn the power on from the batteries, and to turn the electronic controls on. I'll do the same thing with the starboard engine. What you hear right now is the alarms for low. That was the alarm telling me I did not have either the upper or lower helm controls identified, so I just identified the lower one for now. We have our keys on. Now normally I would check the oil, water levels, all that, but I've done that just recently, and again, we're moving about 200 yards, so it's not going to be too big of a deal. So let me push the start button and see what happens here. Started right up. And there's the starboard engine starting right up. Our gauges are looking about right. This one here doesn't work, but I have a backup in the engine room and a backup on the upper helm. We're looking pretty good right now. Then what I usually do is I go down and I just give the engines a once-over visually to make sure nothing looks odd. Everything sounded and looked good, so I'm going to just check on Lynn. She's getting ready to take the Mark Whip steps off, and I'm going to put this down and go help her. Next up is throwing the breakers for the power in the boat so that I can disconnect the electrical lines. Everything's good there. Okay, so the lines are turned off, or the breakers are killed inside the boat. So I'm going to throw the breaker out here, disconnect the line, and hand it over to Lynn. All we had hooked up was 150 because we knew we were going to be moving. This was the plan all along. Now the next thing we do is we check to see which of our...
I'm just going to leave her up.
Yeah, that's fine. We check to see which of our lines are not tight. Because we figure if they're not tight, we can just disconnect them, and we'll leave any of them that are taut as the last lines that we remove before I pull away. Now it looks like the wind and the current has us pushed against the dock, so basically all the lines are loose. So we're going to be in pretty good shape here as far as getting ourselves disconnected from the slip by ourselves. Okay, so most of the lines have been taken off the boat. We just have one spring line on right now and the stern line. And as you can see, what we do when we're leaving the dock by ourselves is we'll just throw a loop around the cleat so that Lynn could just stand in the back and just unhook it herself and then quickly move up and release the spring line. Now it always depends on what's happening, where the current is. Sometimes it's a different line that's last, but in this case we're going to go, the last line will be the spring and she'll do the stern just before it. Lynn is up there now preparing lines for the other side of the boat, since that's the side we'll be docking on. And the boat has been warming up about 15 minutes, and that's why we kind of do it in this order, so we know by the time we're done with all the disconnects and things of that nature, the boat's warmed up and we're ready to go. So I'm going to take my position on the upper helm, and we'll get this boat moved.
He's backing it all the way in. You're doing good. You might want to bring your rear back to the other side. Okay, we're going to hit a current as soon as we get there, so I'm going to put this down, and next time you see it, hopefully we'll be in. Yeah, I told you the next time we would be in, and we're in. It's checking all the lines. But we're in. This is our new view. Pretty good, right? Beautiful. I had to grab the bowl all the way from the other side. It's not too bad. It's not like walking the plank. No electric to the meter. So right now, there's no electric to our post. So the dock master is going in to see if there's a breaker inside that it's turned off. And Ed will probably say the same thing once he gets up here. No, it's a nice spot. It's a real nice spot.
Yeah, so hopefully we get the electric working.
I know.
So,
Because I don't want to move her again, especially if the winds are going to pick up pretty heavy. Should we just still hook her up?
yeah,
Or should we kind of...
I
But I mean, should we just wait before we put the hose on and stuff to make sure?
don't know if you want to wait on the hose. I was going to say if you want to turn the generator on just to get the heaters running.
Well, it's not that cold inside. It's actually not bad.
Oh, who tied this?
Huh?
Who tied this? Wasn't you, was it?
No. No. That was Bob. But that's okay. He did great. They both did great pulling the boat in.
I still did it wrong anyway.
Yeah. He didn't even do it right. There we go.
So we moved the boat to the new slip, and when we got there, had ourselves all set up, lines tied, they're ready to go. There's no electric. They could not figure out why the electric wouldn't come on. The breakers were good. We gave up. They're gonna have electricians come in and see if they can take care of it. So we turned around. We brought the boat right back to where we were. So we're at home sweet home, our original slip. We're going to wait and see what they can do with the electric. We're happy to keep it here for the rest of the winter if we have to. That slip had a better view. On the downside, it's a little bit more exposed to the currents in the water, so it's a little bit of a trade-off. But we'll see what happens.
Well,
right now, we're here. We're back again.
There was a rogue wave that came through that pretty much shook
There
that.
was. Why was
well,
that?
I mean, tide changing wave.
Yeah, rogue wave, and that happens. I don't know why it happened at the other marina we're at here on the Delaware. I know it has to do with the tide changes and the water coming in, but it feels like a giant container ship went by for about a minute, and then it goes away, and then you don't see it again.
Yeah,
But,
this one made it feel like you were on a roller coaster
yeah, so
when you were
I'm a
on the
little
dock.
bit iffy about when am I trading off a little bit of that for a better view. We'll see. We'll think about it.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we're back with our view.